The one-year mission of Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko will provide scientists with new information about how people respond to being in weightlessness so we can get better prepared for future missions out into deep space to destinations like Mars or an asteroid. Kelly has been involved in the twins experiment, which will compare him during a year in space to his identical twin brother, Mark, on Earth. My colleague Dan Huot recently talked with former astronaut Mark Kelly to gauge his thoughts about his participation in the twins experiment, about his brother's record-setting mission, and how he'd feel if it were him coming home from a year in space. Let's take a look.
Well, I can kind of tell he's getting ready to come home because I get less phone calls. Over the course of the year, they kind of, started to peak at a while, and after you're there for about 8 or 9 months, he seemed to be reaching out a lot, and not so much in the last few days. So I think he's scrambling to get everything done that he needs to do for this 1-year mission, and get his stuff packed and get everything over to the Soyuz.
And I remember he had remarked that he actually thinks he calls you even more while he's in space. Was that true throughout this mission? Did you get, plenty of chances to talk to him while he was up there, 250 miles overhead?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely talk more when he is in space than when we were both on Earth. Not so much with me as a shuttle guy who for space shuttle missions. Mm-hmm. Those are like controlled chaos where you're just trying to get everything done over a 2-week period. But for him, living in space and being so far detached from life on Earth, one of the only real lifelines you have. The best one is certainly the ability to make a phone call. So I do talk to him a lot more when he's in space.
Okay, and I mean, for this mission, you were anything but just kind of a passive bystander. You were actually part of the research. So I was hoping you could talk about that a little bit more, some of the stuff you've been doing over the year as an active participant in the twin study.
Yeah, you could say participant or guinea pig. I guess either of those are appropriate. Since before he launched, I've been providing data in a number of different ways to NASA for this study, and there's 10 universities that are doing a bunch of science experiments on both Scott and I because we're twins. Those universities consist of Cornell and Harvard Medical School, Johns Hopkins, University of Pennsylvania, and others. Stanford, I think, is one as well. And so I provide data, and that data is, sometimes is somebody comes to my house right here in Tucson. A phlebotomist will come from NASA and take 30 tubes of blood, saliva samples, urine, and other things, and cart all that stuff back to the Johnson Space Center, where they distribute it to the researchers. I also travel rather regularly to Houston to do more extensive data collection, and those data takes might consist of MRIs, ultrasounds, other science that NASA does, some of which I'm not so sure what they're doing.
So, and I know for Scott, once he comes home, there's going to be many months more of data takes. Are you still, on the hook for the next couple of months or year or so to contribute to this study?
Hey, I'm happy to contribute as much as they need. I told NASA, whatever you need, just tell me where to be and when, and I'll give you whatever you want. So whether this lasts another month for me, or 10 months or 10 years, I don't really know, but I'm happy to participate.
Okay. Now, so he's coming home soon. What's one thing you're really looking forward to doing with your brother again?
We were talking about maybe at some point going up to Alaska and going fishing, or doing something like that. I got a guy I know up there that's a guide for these salmon fishing trips. It's all about finding the time, to do things like that. But we were talking about doing that. We're going to have a welcome home party for him, at some point there in Houston. He's been gone a long time, and, over a period of a year, you lose those connections with people. So I think it's really important to get that back.
Okay. Well, again, Mark Kelly, former NASA astronaut, twin brother of Scott Kelly, who's getting ready to wrap up his year in space. Mark, thanks so much for joining me today, and hopefully we'll see you out here in Houston in the not-too-distant future.
You're welcome.